Running an independent hospitality business means wearing about 15 different hats before lunchtime. Owner, manager, marketer, bookkeeper, recruiter, the list goes on. That's why Staying Open partnered with Square. They bring payments, point of sale, and funding all together in one straightforward system, helping operators spend less time on admin and more time doing what they love. Square does the Square stuff, so you don't have to. Right now, they're offering up to £4,000 in free hardware to eligible businesses to get you started. Head to square.com to learn more. Restaurants are where life happens. First dates, birthdays, breakups, celebrations, the places we go to feel something. But behind every busy dining room is another story entirely. Over the last few months, I have been traveling across the UK, meeting some of the most exciting people in hospitality, the people holding this industry together. And honestly, I found myself asking the same question over again. How the hell do you actually stay open? Right now, hospitality is hard, margins are tight, everyone's burnt out, and yet somehow people keep showing up. In this series, we're sitting down with some of the country's most loved restaurants to talk about what it really takes. The good bits, the chaos, the money, the pressure, the passion, and why, despite everything, they still wouldn't do anything else. I'm Natalia Ribbe, and this is the Staying Open podcast for restaurant owners, restaurant lovers, and everyone in between. Okay, we are in Soho today in London, my favourite neighbourhood in London, I think, actually. And we're at a restaurant called Rita'S, which is also one of my favourite restaurants. I could just eat the deviled eggs and the martini here like every day and not be sick of it. But we're joined by the co-founders, Missy and Gabe, talk about their story, talk about how they ended up here in Soho, and just, what it takes to be resilient in this industry, but always keeping it positive. Welcome to Staying Open, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Podcast / television show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
What channel is it on?
It's going to be on YouTube.
Okay.
Welcome, guys. It's a really hot day in London.
It is, yeah. A rare hot day.
A rare hot day. This is obviously a working restaurant, so if you hear any noise in the background, people are prepping and getting ready for things.
Yeah, sorry.
Gabe, I know we don't have you for very long, so I want to jump straight in and take it back to your story. How did you guys meet? What's your background in hospitality? I know, but the listeners don't.
We have known each other forever.
What's forever?
Since we were about 17.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Stop.
we're like 22 now, so.
We've been in the same group of kind of, what do you call it, like social group. When we were younger, same clubs and bars that we would all go to at the same time, around the same era, kind of came up together in London in that thing. But then I moved to the US, and Missy stayed in London working in, well, you can explain more, but working in bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
And you guys are a couple now, but you weren't always a couple.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, just friends, totally platonic.
Yeah, no, I've known, as Gabe said, I've known Gabe since we both grew up in London. I grew up not far from here, actually. Well, I moved around London quite a lot, but my parents used to run a pub in Covent Garden. And when we were 16, 17, the thing was to socialise in central London, and people don't really do that now, but it was indie club heaven. So basically Gabe and I were part of the same massive group of friends who would just be in every little indie club in London every night of the week, right?
Yes.
And as I got old enough to have a job, I kind of followed my dad's route into pubs. I started working in pubs. I worked in hospitality kind of since I was 17. Starting in pubs, I worked in a pub in central London called the Ben Crouch Tavern, which was behind Oxford Street, because I was studying at LCF, which is London College of Fashion. Gabe, as he said, went off to New York to study, to be at film school. And in the time that I was in London, I then worked kind of across lots of different random restaurant jobs, as you do, landing eventually in quite a specific thing that I wanted to work. I kind of fell into bartending after that, after working in the pubs, so cocktail bartending. And I found tequila and agave spirits, and I got really obsessed with them and Mexican food and culture, which at the time it wasn't really represented here in London at all, which meant that I would then travel to Mexico to kind of learn more about that. Often via New York, and kind of we crossed over sometimes in New York and kind of built this connection with that part of the world. Then moving to work in Mexican restaurants here.
At that time, what were they?
So there were two that I worked at. Crazy Homies, which was on Westbourne Grove, which was part of a Conran group. Tom Conran was the owner, and his wife Cynthia, and it was co-joined. It was like a kind of building that was split, and on one side was a Mexican kind of cantina with like a massive selection of tequilas and mezcals, and then the other side was an American diner, and you'd have things like avocado chicken breast burger, or like just things that I just like didn't.
Same kitchen, right? One kitchen.
Yeah, I
Same
remember going
kitchen.
there.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I should say I'd come to this job from All Star Lanes, bartending at All Star Lanes, which is an Americana. There's a bit of a theme, like bowling alley.
Yeah.
I should also say that before that I was like very into like rockabilly and rock and roll kind of stuff. So this was like the perfect world for me to land in, like my kind of work space. But anyway, I went to Crazy Homies specifically to learn about tequila and Mexican food, and then from there I went to Green and Red, which is on Bethnal Green Road, which my favourite job I've ever had. They had like 200. I don't know, this is not a job.
Green and Red.
This is an obligation.
Yeah.
But Green and Red, aka Will Beckett and Hughes place.
Exactly. So then, after doing some time at Green and Red, by the way, at this point I was like 20, maybe 21.
20, yeah.
I asked Will if I could transfer to Hawksmoor because I wanted to learn more about restaurants and dining and classic cocktails. So I moved to Hawksmoor. I worked on the bar at Spitalfields, and I loved that job as well. And then when I finally finished my college degree, which by that point was in publishing, I transferred into a marketing role at Hawksmoor. So Will was like, okay, we're going to create this role, because they were sort of on the cusp of their growth.
Yeah.
Hawksmoor, for anyone that doesn't know, is a hugely successful British steakhouse, which has now opened sites in the US. But at that point, they were just single site. They were just Spitalfields was the only one. So long history with restaurants, long history with East London, that part of London that we still live in. And, you know, I basically walk past Green and Red every day of my life. And Hawksmoor, Spitalfields probably every other day of my life, and both those places are very formative to me, and I think speak to a feeling of like really feel part of London restaurants. And then Gabe came back from New York.
I mean, on the other hand, I'm just a overindulged fuckboy that got to live in New York for 6 years and go to film school. But
Glad that you said that.
yeah, fair enough. But my introduction. So I did live there for college, but because of my family's line of work, I spent a lot of my youth in New York and LA and London, and I think that my introductions to restaurants and enjoying restaurants and seeing what I wanted to get from restaurants was in New York, and spent a lot of my time living there, kind of reacquainting myself with those things, and always having a keen eye on how they do things there and what it is that I like to get from a restaurant. So when I came back, I made a bit of a mistake. I'd spent 6 years at film school, thought of myself as a bit of a auteur or wannabe auteur. Didn't realize that all of my friends and peers in that world were totally fine with making music videos and commercials. And I thought, no. So I would need a job to support me while on my path. So I started chefing at a friend's restaurant.
In London.
In London, when I moved back from New York. All my friends that made music videos and commercials all have houses now.
Nice cars.
Nice cars. I have a restaurant. Yeah, and we kind of crossed over while I was cooking there with an old friend of ours who, before I moved away, our friend group, we would throw raves, parties, club nights, lots of stuff. The crew that was kind of left here got together and put together a bar, and after which our friend Dino ran very successfully for many years, and they were opening another nightclub. They wanted a food pop-up for the first 4 weeks. It was like it was 2012, it was like the first era of pop-ups.
What was the name of this bar?
It was called Birthdays. And we put something together to be there for a month. And I got kind of obsessed with cooking. I really liked the team that we'd hired. I really liked the opportunity that we were kind of thinking about all the things that we loved from our times in New York. And late night dining wasn't really a thing, and combination of like social and eating for our age group was like not a thing at the time.
It's like crazy to imagine, but it just did not exist.
Can't really explain that. It just like was not a thing that you could go and have like food in a bar, or like you could go out and eating was part of your night out. It wasn't just like something to grab on the way home.
I do feel like 2012 was like quite a pivotal year.
It's perfect. It was the best year in the
ever.
history of this country. And
I moved
I would
to
say
England in
stop.
2012.
Okay, well, there you go.
But if you look at like our group
I
at the
agree.
time,
Were you here in the summer? Oh, it was the best summer ever.
And there was something that happened, you know, our peers, our friends, you know, things that they were like establishing at the time, like, you know, NCS, Boiler Room, you know, where Young Turks was going, like all this kind of network of creatives and artists and like painters and just, I don't know why we all felt very optimistic about the future and were being quite entrepreneurial.
Can I take it back to something you just said about your friends who are making commercials and things, and they have houses and cars now?
Yeah.
Because I think something that comes up, and obviously like Missy, you and I talk about restaurants a lot and the money side of things, and
Yeah.
like us not making any of it.
Yeah.
And there's this like romance around restaurants, and I think sometimes that is what's so like appealing about it, is the romantic side of it. I mean, do you ever regret not making those commercials and
In a
music
sense,
videos?
yes, but mainly because of the kind of the world that is portrayed around restaurants and the way that they kind of have to be run. Look, we're not destitute. We have a restaurant that we love. We have 23, 24 employees in this one restaurant that we love working with, that we look after, that seem to be content with how they work, the money they make. We have very high rent here. We would probably make more money if we were somewhere else. But at the same time, there is a world around restaurants where you have to be seen to be doing it for the love of it, and you have to be seen to be doing it because of like like the poetry and the romance of the industry. And if you talk about success, or if you talk about like anyone else that works in anything else, like they've got plaques on the wall of records they sell. They've got people coming around to film their house, like welcome to my crib, look at my cars. Oh, you own a restaurant. You can't tell anyone you're making money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what?
Or if you're
You're supposed to be on your knees.
Yeah, well,
And it's like there's a bit of balance there. Don't get me wrong. I don't have cars. I don't want you to come around and film my house. But we're not on our arse. And
but then what about even the flip side of that, which is that we're seeing a lot of closures, and I don't want it to be negative because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
depressing. And like
Yeah.
I have obviously a seasonal
a
restaurant basically, and it's really
It
quite
is very hard.
dramatic and
The thing-
terrifying at
Yeah,
the moment.
it is.
The only thing I regret is throwing in solely to a business where what you put in compared to what you get out is quite extreme. There are people that literally sell ideas. You know, there are creative industries where people sit around a table and talk and maybe send some decks and draw some pictures and say, you should get this person on here. And they make pure profit. And I'm like, okay, I need 7 people today. I need to spend $3.5 grand today. And I need 150 people to come and check out what we're doing. And I want them to spend £70 each.
Yeah.
It's like, are you fucking mad? Like, that is such a crazy thing to do. Like, and you're like, oh, you do that? How often do you do that? 6 days a week. Every week.
Some do it 7 days a week.
Some do it 7 for years.
Yeah.
Like, even people that go on tour, like, yeah, you know, you might have 100,000 people come to your show that you're doing today. We need 150 people to come every day, forever. That's mad.
Yeah.
It is.
So yeah, it's not that I regret it. I'm just like, there is like a working model that is slightly loopy.
The restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for that really great answer.
Sure.
No, and I actually feel like profoundly better about my mental state this morning when I woke up. Was very like destitute and like, what am I gonna do? This restaurant is killing me. And actually just, maybe it's like commiseration or feeling like we're on.
It's just a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like it is
Yeah.
a lot of work. It's a lot of resource in. mental, physical, for comparatively to a lot of jobs, not that much return if you're looking for a financial return. And also, as you age in the industry, your needs become different. And it's that kind of paradox, that passion paradox thing, that it's like, you know, you might start out from a place of passion, but if you then stick at it and ride the wave of so many challenges, you should be able to be like, no, I'm really proud of how we've maintained ourselves in this kind of climate. And actually, yes, that motivation does come a little bit from wanting to make a living, as Gabe said, for us and for everybody else here. And there's this kind of disconnect between how open you can be about that, or how clear it can be that it's a business. But I think this conversation's being opened up in the US quite a lot. I think there's like I've seen a few like hot takes on Instagram. I can't remember who did it, maybe Sussman or something, about why it's bad for restaurateurs to talk about wanting to make money. But I'm like, everyone in this capital city wants to make money. I don't really know many people who are just going to work for the passion.
I do feel like the whole idea of going to a restaurant has shifted dramatically, probably since COVID. And in the UK, the one word that's always come up to me since I moved here is that value. Like, British people love to know the value. And that word is always very subjective depending on what you value.
Yeah. I mean, that for us is the most important thing. Like our job is to work on our margins. That's our job. We don't want to put prices up. We don't want to be super expensive. We're working on what we can, everyone is working on what they can do to make sure that we're not pushing people out of like a price bracket. But at the same time, what it has to do is be more than worth it for the guest. Like it has to, the value has to be there, because that's the reward. That's the joy. That it's, you know, you don't walk out of here feeling stung. Like that's going to suck. But you know, Tom, I was reading something our friend Tom from Decatur said yesterday, and it's very true. You know, there's money to be made in this industry. I don't want everyone to sweat and kind of be on their knees to prove that they are passionate about every single thing that they do. But if you don't care about what you do, your product's going to be crap. The two things you need to do for it to work in this industry is that you need to be good enough, and being good enough is like your product needs to be fantastic. You need to work with incredible produce. You need to create things that people want, and then not rip them off to have it. And then on the other side, you need to make sure that from that, your numbers on the back end make sense. That's how you make it work. It's a balancing game. If you can do that, you can make money from a restaurant.
The thing that's
just don't tell anyone.
Let's just keep it a secret.
The thing that has become trickier is that like understanding what value means to different people. Because I think was I texting you about this, complaining about people seeing value as cheap.
Yes.
Like I think there's still a contradiction between people understanding value broadly, because there's a lack of education about what things cost. So my example would be like, is a pair of Nike trainers good value if they cost £2 to make and they are sold for £150? I would say that's not good value on the product that you're receiving. That's a huge margin.
Yeah.
But people often see value as cheap. They see it as a number on a bill or on a menu, and if it's low, that's good value, irrespective of what the actual quality or the cost of the item they're receiving in exchange for that money is, because there's such a lack of education about what those things cost. You know, someone might be like, heirloom tomato salad, whatever, £14. That's not very good value. But I'm like, but the tomatoes are like, they cost £8 or £9. Like that's actually quite good value in terms of the mechanics of a restaurant and margins.
We're putting the labor behind it.
That's what I'm saying. Once you factor it in, so I think that idea of value has become this word that people throw around, and every restaurant and restaurateur is panicking about, rightly so, about the guest's power where value is concerned, and that they can, you know, vote with their money or with their review power or whatever, or word of mouth. And that concept of value is based on something quite arbitrary at sometimes, and often, very, very often not based on a true understanding of the mechanics of a restaurant. And so whilst I don't want to, you know, we definitely don't want to make our restaurant more expensive to make more money. That doesn't make because that doesn't necessarily mean more money. I think a lot of people make that mistake of being like, let's go more expensive. It's all about margin. If you're running a business, it's about margin. So we're actually working on value across the board of how we can orchestrate the menu, change some things out, maintain this, the standard of experience and the quality in the product that we want to use. So that would be the last thing we ever want to change. We're you know.
Yeah, and also, you know, but also, sorry, finish.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the idea of value is really hard to quantify.
Yeah, and it doesn't come down to just the product or the cooking or what's in the glass or your time spent in a restaurant is to do with many other things, and something we also prioritize here, which I've seen shockingly lacking in some hugely celebrated and successful restaurants, is service and the engagement with the team. And I don't mean like overbearing, I just mean the quality of the information that's provided to you, how you're looked after, when you are looked after, the things that we can provide for you in that time that are less tangible, make the experience incredibly rewarding for a diner. And I think our service is like some of the best in the city. And I think that the places where I've felt ripped off recently were, you know, restaurants that might be cheaper than here or more expensive than us, just absolutely abandoned the idea of service and like looking after people. And that's something we prioritize as well.
It does piss me off that Michelin 1 star is just based on food.
Yeah.
Like what?
It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
It's just like what, my entire side of the business is dismissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that's always infuriated me about being front of house. It's just that, you know, we get no love.
Yeah.
You guys have talked really eloquently about, you know, value and margins, and that's obviously over a decade of experience, maybe not knowing what that was when you first started Rita'S. Like, you're doing this pop-up at birthdays, it goes really well, it's this amazing pivotal time in London, the London dining scene. I mean, then what happened? And I guess, like, what are your learnings from the iterations of Rita'S over the last...
We've learned a lot. You know, we have closed the restaurant in the last 14 years since we started, and that sucked. But at the same time, very eye-opening, and also like something that people have to be a bit more aware of in this country, that I find people are still not got their head around, is that you will if you open multiple restaurants in your life, you will close multiple restaurants in your life. All my like chef heroes from, you know, from the UK, but also from the US that I've kind of idolized throughout my career, they've had 20 restaurants in their life. They might have 3 now. They might have 1. You know, it's part of being a restaurateur. Is you will close restaurants in your life. You have to move on. When we've closed our first restaurant, people call me like, "What are you going to do?" Like, it's like a relative had died or something, like, or like this like us having a limb amputated. It's like, you know, we'll crack on and open another one.
Kind of did feel like that.
It
It
did
does
feel like
feel
that.
like, yeah, it did.
Let me also say, we opened our first restaurant when we were 24 and 25. Don't do that. Just don't do it.
No.
Bad idea. The big thing for us, and you know, it's clear from what we've been talking about before we started 14 years ago, I hadn't worked in a ton of restaurants, and it wasn't a line of work that I was thinking about getting into, and I got completely head over heels, like romantically involved with chefing, and learnt very quickly from seeing how Missy viewed restaurants and the industry, a lot from the people she'd worked with, but just what she brought to the table when we were, you know, borrowing money to open a restaurant. That, like, we had responsibilities and things like that. Having an eye on the numbers, it took me far too long to realize that was the most important part of my job. It's not sexy to say that to people. No. It is fun when you get into it. It is like super rewarding. My chefs are like nerdy about spreadsheets now. That's you have to be.
Yeah.
And we pride ourselves on that, and it's part of the learning of becoming a chef. It's great you've got ideas, and it's great you want to work with the best produce, and it's great you want to call things in, and you want to come up with these ideas. Just don't rush it. Don't put it on the menu if you haven't worked out how much it costs and what you need to sell it for. Like, just don't. You will regret it so much. It will not prove you a better chef. Once you get that dish on confidently with an understanding of what it costs and what you need to sell it at, you can be really proud of yourself. And like, people will love that. You know, your confidence will help, you know, stabilize your kitchen, create an environment your team want to work in, impress your chefs, more than like just the idea. I think that's really important.
Yeah, my thing is like never too small to act big.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people might find surprising about our business is there are a lot of systems, and it's, you know, it would be very easy for us to be like, oh, mum and pop shop in central London, cute building, great little team, young team. Let's just wing it, basically. But and I don't think we even did that at Rita'S on Mare Street in Hackney, which is our first restaurant. So we had the pop-up, just to contextualise everything. Pop-up was in 2012 in Dalston on Kingston Road. We then took a site on Mare Street in Hackney very early on, you know,
2013. Yeah.
2013. So there was nothing there. It was very much like go set something up. And as Gabe said, we were kind of early 20s. And even then, coming out of restaurant experience, I was like, there's no way. I mean, obviously it didn't ultimately work for various reasons, but we did try very hard to operate in a way that felt organized, structured. You know, we weren't disregarding any of our costs or anything like that. It was surprising, and you know, we felt very pressured being so young to lead by example. So like Gabe didn't have a drink for the first year. Like we didn't hang out with the team. We were very like, you know, the magnitude of the responsibility is huge, not only to the people you've borrowed money from, but the people who believe in you and support you, and also to yourselves to do it properly. So here, I think people come and they're like potentially quite surprised by how ordered it is for a single site independent business.
Yeah.
How much structure there is, and I think that applies to people who come to work here.
I've just seen food come up and I'm getting very excited.
This is Tom, our head
Tom,
chef.
head chef.
Hi,
Bringing
bringing
in
us
some
snacks.
Rita'S classics.
This is the best day of my life.
Deviled eggs. Deviled eggs.
Amazing.
Shrimp.
Amazing, thank you.
Deviled eggs are done
Tom.
forever. Shrimp.
But yeah, so it's that thing of
Shrimp
like
bread.
never, you know, you're never too small to act big, and ultimately, if you have any ambition of growing, you can't retrospectively you can't fix that retrospectively. And the thing that we like, obviously, you know this, but we have moved Rita'S, you know, in the interim between having the Mare Street restaurant and landing here 5 years ago. Actually 6 years ago we signed our lease here, so 5 years run as an independent in central London is pretty good. I'm proud of that. I think it's something to celebrate, and hopefully long may it continue. But in between that, we did various pop-ups and kind of collaborations and kind of smaller things, always with view to eventually finding somewhere long term. And so none of these things felt incidental or ad hoc in a way that didn't matter. Everything matters, is what I'm saying. And you get to a point where you want to grow and you're ready. You understand your model, you understand your strengths and weaknesses, you understand like what your guest likes about you and what your USPs are. But also, crucially, you understand if the business works or not. And I think, you know, whilst we see a lot of closures due to rising costs and stuff, I think we also, unfortunately to say, we see a lot of closures because people think it's easy and they don't do that work. And I don't want to be a cow about it, but it is hard. You have to think logically and strategically. And also, the number one thing I think has helped us is managing ego around it, because everyone has an idea of what their dream restaurant would look like.
Yeah.
And ego is a thing that's being challenged.
Wow.
Second round.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Right. Couple like
Thanks, Tom.
Wild strawberry cheesecake.
and
So good.
This reminds me of home.
Asparagus. That's what it's meant to.
I know.
Nice one.
I appreciate
Thank you very
that.
much.
Thanks, Tom.
Do you need to leave us right now?
I do, yeah.
Gabe has to go because he's very busy and important. But we're very honoured that he.
Missy's also busy.
I'm kidding. I'm
I'm
being
really
facetious.
unbusy. Yeah.
You can.
You are amazing.
Thank you very much for having
Will you
me.
run us through the dishes or should I?
Yes.
Yeah, run us through the
I'll run you through the
Tom
dishes
can-
quickly.
Tom can do
Thank
it if you
you.
want.
Or Tom can take you
Tom,
through
if
the
you're up
dishes.
for it.
Tom,
Okay.
are you up
Transfer
for
my
it?
mic.
okay, so we got a couple like very classic from Rita'S at the minute. Some stuff that will not move from the menu ever. Especially the deviled eggs.
You better not.
They are a very staple in what we're doing. Make a lovely mix with like the egg yolks that are cooked, like some tobanjan into it. So like a bit of spicy, a little bit of heat, but like not too much, okay? And then chives, sesame oil and sesame. Simple as that, but it can't go anywhere.
No,
it
it
will
can't.
Be there.
I would-
like anywhere.
I would.
Yeah, there would be a problem if they came.
There would
off
be
the
an
menu.
uproar.
Absolutely. And then This one actually gonna have a slight modification, okay? But it will still be some grilled shrimp, promise for everyone. This is grilled shrimp that we do on the barbecue. They have been there for like a few months now, and they have been a massive hit. Everybody can't get enough of them. Lovely shrimp that we're getting from Flynn and Flounders. We do like a little beurre monté inside, which is like a emulsification of butter and water, and a little bit of fish stock into it. It's very delicious. And on top, chili crisp and wedge of lemon chili crisp that we do in-house. It's very fancy to that.
Good.
It's very delicious. We put it everywhere. I mean, in the kitchen for us. Otherwise, just on the shrimp. And then this one, mega seasonal, okay. Super asparagus that we are getting from, we are lucky enough to work with Flourish Farm.
Yeah.
They're supplying us with like some super great produce that we have. So on that, they give us like the asparagus, the strawberry that we are using as well. They are from Flourish Farm as well. Mega seasonal. I mean, they're quite established in London and supplying like some very good restaurants, and we are lucky enough to work with them. So that is a risotto, green asparagus, or they were like a little spinach puree that we're making. Spinach puree is infused with like some guajillo chili as well, just to have make it a bit more Rita'S, okay, more like in the influence that we have. And then you have asparagus folded through it, ricotta salata, North African bene seeds, so we're like cousins of the sesame seeds, but like the ancient sesame seeds, basically.
Ancient sesame.
Exactly, ancient. I like this word, ancient. And then Flourish Farm asparagus that we put on top. They've just been lightly branched and then put on top and just with some lemon oil. They are amazing. Quality of them is outstanding. And then recent one, just had like a slight modification on the topping.
It's called Natalia's Nostalgia.
Yeah, seriously.
It is a no-bake cheesecake that Gabe came up with. It is not a New York cheesecake, okay? It is not any type of cheesecake. It is Rita'S cheesecake, okay? No baked cheesecake. Lots of vanilla, lots of dairy.
Looks perfect.
It's delicious, and then we top that with strawberry coulis. So there is strawberry that we make a coulis out of it, and then we fold like some fresh strawberries from Flourish Farm into it.
Gorgeous.
It's very delicious.
Amazing.
Obviously.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. So we're gonna dig in, but obviously keep chatting.
Yeah.
Gabe had to run off.
Sorry about that.
Exciting
Yeah, he's got some top secret.
and top secret thing,
Stuff.
but we get to eat, so
Yeah.
yay, more for us. I want to talk about, I guess, trends.
Yeah.
I feel like being trendy, I think, became like a trend this year.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously, you have,
2026 is the year of the trend as a trend.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you are famous for this mini martini that I love.
Yeah.
Which they became kind of trendy.
Yeah.
But you've been doing them.
So we've
Forever.
had this mini martini on the menu since we opened, which was basically 2020 when we opened outside dining. And I do think about it because it's become a trend. It's quite often copied. People use the same glass that we use, and whatever, it's fine. Trends are cyclical, and so much about restaurants is about reinterpretation. So it is what it is. But
Only one thing my ex-boyfriend said that I actually keep with me, which is everyone's a cover band. Do you think that?
No, who was it? Someone, I think it's interesting, and I don't mean to be like obnoxious, but when you do start trends, or when you know that you've kick-started, or kind of, also to be clear, like everything comes from somewhere. So something must have been in the cultural zeitgeist, and I work closely with drinks and cocktails, and I must have picked up from somewhere that, there's a kind of opportunity to do a mini martini. So it came on our menu, and then we very much riffed off the one-shot martini at Taya and Elementary, which I have to always reference because you always have to reference your references, otherwise you're just a thief. And so with Monica's Blessing and Alex's Blessing, this is a very highly regarded cocktail bar, by the way, in Old Street. They have a one-sip martini which comes with a blue cheese olive, and then we were developing our food menu, and I was like, I love jalapeno poppers, like genuinely a blue cheese filled jalapeno. I'm like, that should be our bar snack. And logistically, it didn't work because of the kitchen setup, fryer, whatever. But, this is kind of how we work, Gabe and I. It's like a really fun riffing project. So I'm like, oh, I love jalapeno poppers. Why can't we do those? We couldn't do them. But then we were talking about the martini and the blue cheese, and that's kind of like the jalapeno. And then so it developed into, and then Gildas were kind of already becoming a trend. So we turned that into our Gilda. So it was like a very organic, multi-referential, like kind of collaborative way of working out things, which is a way of working that I really value, and that's the only way that I work. What I don't understand is people seeing something and being like, I want one of those on my menu, and then just putting it on. That to me is not joyful. That is not creative. It's not a fun experience. Like, that's not a journey. That's just like a trend ticking exercise, which I think says absolutely nothing about the business or the people behind it. And kind of what I was saying is, you want to go to a restaurant and be like, whose brain is this from?
Yeah.
Like, you want to look at stuff and be like, why do we have this very kitschy kind of almost vintage Americana sort of cheesecake, could be like from TGI Fridays or something. It's still a lot better than TGI, but because it speaks to you, it says something to you.
Yes.
And you're like, well, why is that here? And I think that's the important thing about your restaurant, is like, why is really, really
But
integral.
I guess we're moving more, especially with like social media and TikTok, and yes, this sort of trend. We're seeing restaurants and food concepts come up that are literally, in terms of like, we live in this capitalist world, they're literally being made to make money. Like,
which I hate.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Like dessert places, and like, they just for the Instagram, just for that moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really dilutes what maybe us restaurant people.
I feel like London is more guilty of this than a lot of other places. I think we've drunk the Kool-Aid on this.
Not even New York or LA.
I don't know, because I think New York still has a very clear.
I'm having a different.
Go for it. 3 meals a day out of your house dining culture. Like, people are still going to restaurants to eat. They have this stuff additionally. I think here we've shifted into a different space, and it's cultural, it's economic, it's maybe political, whatever it is. People are. It's no secret people are going out to eat less, but what they are doing more is queuing up for a pastry or queuing up for an ice cream, because they've kind of replaced that. Whereas my opinion of places like New York is because dining out is so embedded and the work is so integral, and people really, that is a profession that lots and lots of people do, restaurant work. It's not stopping people from going out to eat as much. Whereas here, I think it might be. And that thing about developing items for your menu that you want to go viral, I don't know why people would want that. It's a curse. We had a garlic bread on here when we first opened. It's really great, like 4 little knots of bread, this mound of garlic butter, tear and share garlic bread. And we would get people booking a table for 2 hours in a tiny restaurant of 35 covers to have the garlic bread and take a picture of it and leave. And that is like absolutely going to put us out of business. So I'm like, I'm not grateful for that, actually. I'm actually really annoyed by it. I would be grateful if you booked a table and said, look, I literally just want the garlic bread. Can I have a 10-minute turn time? Let me get in and out. And the martini as well. I love the martini. I'll never take it off because I think it's a very good martini. To be clear, it's not just a small martini. It's designed to be small. In terms of like the quantities in it and stuff. But we don't, look at the food here. We don't get anywhere near as much conversation around the food as we do that stupid little martini. And in terms of the work that goes into it, like this is the real work. Like this is really good, in my opinion, good cooking and like good teamwork and great development and great storytelling. Like the Bene seed is full of story. Like we get it from North Carolina. The way that it ended up in America is hugely interesting. There's so much storytelling here, and it does pain me that because of the way that we've become accustomed to understanding trends, the number one call for press or Instagram stuff is people want to shoot the martini, and I'm like, the martini is great. Honestly, it's delicious. It's a great way to start a meal here, but like, what about what else is going to happen?
Yeah.
And the service and the experience. So yeah, I don't think trend chasing is a smart way to open a business.
Definitely not.
Personally.
So, Chef Tom.
Yeah.
Lovely. Where is he from?
France, could you not tell?
I don't want to assume.
No, Chef Tom joined the business just over a year ago. like he's amazing. You know, he's such an integral part of how we work and how Gabe runs the kitchen. And they have a great relationship together, which I think is hugely valuable. And he came to us from Clipstone, which is another great restaurant in central London, which also has been around for a very long time. Yeah, I worked there for a little while.
I remember when it opened.
Bit. I worked in the kitchen.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. But this is what I admire about you as well, that you've been doing kitchen shifts. When before we opened here and after we closed Rita'S on Mare Street, as Gabe was saying, people were like, what are you going to do? How are you going to kind of like reconnect? How are you going to recalibrate yourself? And it was very painful to have failed, you know, which is what happened. And I was adamant that one day we'd open another restaurant, but I didn't want to be customer facing, and there was a little bit of shame around having closed something, and maybe I carried that more than Gabe did. But I really wanted to continue working in restaurants, so I went and just did stages in in a few Michelin star restaurants, because I was like, when I reopen, I'll understand my business from the inside out. So like not that I'm a trained chef by any means, but if I'm employing people, half of whom work in a kitchen, my kitchen experience means that I can credibly and reasonably navigate how to manage the restaurant from that perspective.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Because I've been doing these kitchen shifts,
it's amazing. It's terrifying.
It's
surely
so terrifying. And like, you talk about, I guess, like shame or failure. When I'm 40, I've been doing this job a long time.
I'm not far behind you.
And like just, to step in and like, I guess, do something that you're not good at and basically looks like a failure in front of your team almost a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but it's really important. I think that's how they learn.
But I definitely understand the business 10 times more than I did before.
Yeah, and ultimately, I know this is a really crass thing to say, but, being an independent business, self-funded, there's no external finance, for Gabe and I, everything in here we've paid for.
Yeah.
So I think once you kind of show yourself once you're vulnerable in that way and people kind of see you do alongside them what they do, it means more. If you say, look, do you know what, I've been in the kitchen and I just see that you're putting 2 times as much filling in here, and by the way, that just on a numbers calculation, like that means we lose money on this dish, could you not do that? It's credible, and you can kind of lead with strength in that sense. It's cool.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Speaking of like losing money and sourcing and that they're all in the same.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in what Tom was saying, because obviously you've got sesame on the Devil Day. Then he was talking about a different type of
Bene seed. Yeah, so Bene seed. So we try really hard to source as much as we can European, seasonal, local to London. I mean, like, to be frank, like there's some stuff that I wouldn't want to eat locally from London. Like there's some stuff that I want to come a little bit further away from the city, just like from a pollution point of view or whatever. And we've, we work with a lot of people that lots of other great restaurants work with. One of the only suppliers that we have that we import stuff from, and I would say, and it really is an import, is Anson Mills, which is a kind of grain preservation company.
I know them from New York.
Yeah, there you go. Because it was really important to us to have grits on the menu here, to kind of, just from a kind of culinary point of view, the most humble, underutilized in the UK and misunderstood thing of that kind of vast American cuisine that we're trying to sort of explore. And so we went to Anson Mills, who basically work with smallhold growers and farmers to try and perpetuate ancient and kind of lesser common grains in the US, and encourage them to grow them and guide them to market at a fair price and at a good price. So it was important for us, if we're going to tell those stories loosely through the food. I mean, we're not trying to create like a concept restaurant where you have to kind of buy into a history lesson with every dish, because that's jarring and really really quite boring. It's ego, isn't it? It's like, I would love if everybody was obsessed with every dish and wanted to hear everything about every single thing we serve. And I could float around like one of those kind of mad restaurant owners that forces that information down your throat, but I don't think that's fun for people. Some people love it, some people don't.
I think what people like, though, is they'll be like, what is that?
Yeah.
And then you can be like...
Yeah, I think that we want the
is where we
ingredients to
get
talk for
it, and-
themselves. But the Bene seed is very interesting. So it's a kind of ancient sesame seed that became came to the USA through sort of slave movement, basically. So movement of people, forced movement of people. And it came from Africa, and it was sort of smuggled in as one of the many things that were smuggled in by people coming from that part of the world, against their will, largely, all the time, to maintain their connection to their food culture. And so there are stories which obviously, I can't verify for myself, but there are history texts and things that we've read that suggest that people would like to smuggle these kind of seeds in their hair or in their clothing so that they could build something of their life, a recognizable version of their life through the food when they kind of eventually arrived in America, which I think is a really important thing to say. And just to say, like, in terms of context of the food here, culinarily, we do reference ourselves as loosely a modern North American restaurant. And I don't mean like, it's not explicitly American. You're not going to get like things that people think are Americana. But for us, it just means understanding techniques that come from this kind of landmass that is made up of so many different cultures and so many different types of people. It's so new, like so young, and so diverse. And it's just something that we wanted to kind of open up a conversation about.
And I think you've done it so well, like, especially, obviously, as an American. I always love eating here, and it does taste like home to me. My favorite restaurant in the whole entire world is Gramercy Tavern, and I think that sort of modern American type of cooking is really iconic. And
I think it's our point of difference as well. I feel like, there's stuff here at Rita'S that, it's not alien, it's not worlds apart from some stuff that you might eat in other kind of small plates restaurants or other, we specifically sort of structure ourselves as a kind of 3-course kind of place, because I think that also lends itself to that kind of old school American restaurant dining where you're like, I'm going to start with the Caesar salad, I'm going to have the steak, and I'm going to have the cheesecake. And like, I just love eating like that still. It's my favorite. But I think it is all about the personality within the food and the kind of little accents that kind of bring everything to life.
Do you have a successful business now, you and Gabe, and you also have, we're all successful, but not. And you're doing a side project with your brother, Malic Acid, which is like a drinks consultancy.
Yeah, so Malic Acid is kind of it is a beverage design, hospitality design agency. So we do kind of some stuff with venues. So for example, we might develop cocktail menus for other venues and restaurants. We do quite a lot with brands and like brand activations, events, a bit of work with drinks brands. I kind of do strategy for them. But ultimately sort of like storytelling through drinks. My brother also works in hospitality, obviously, and he did a lot more of a focus on kind of wine and cocktails, and then sort of moved into beverage marketing roles, and then was at the Standard for a while. So Cameron, that's my brother, has sort of like a slightly different perspective on the industry from me, a bit more of a corporate insight, which I don't really have, because I've kind of been my own boss since I was 22 or 23. That's the one thing I regret, is not having a boss sometimes. I'm like, who can I take my woes to? And the other thing is that when you're the top of the business, particularly in this industry, because your day is so varied and you do so many things, like you like front of house, kitchen, whatever, you're doing so many things, it's really hard to monitor your own growth in the way that you provide for other people. Because we do very regular reviews here. We do like a 1-month review, and then we do a 3-month review, and then we do every 3 months people have a review.
Wow.
It's a lot. But I don't have a review with anybody. Like, no one's checking in with me and being like, how do you feel like you've developed any new skills in the last, 10 years? Or
I wish we need that.
Yeah, maybe like a kind of independent review body. I don't know. But it's an interesting way of working, because you're kind of then at odds with a lot of people who you might encounter in your day-to-day life, who you're kind of responsible for your own success in that sense. And I don't mean just financial success. You're responsible for your financial success based on how well you run the spreadsheets and stuff. But in terms of your feeling of success and your growth and your sense of self, you're entirely responsible for that. And you have to really remind yourself to take pause and be like, where am I taking my career? Where am I driving myself? Where am I going to invest in myself? Because actually, like, sitting and reading for 2 days is an investment in your growth, because restaurant work requires so many muscles to be active, creative, strategic, organization, soft skills, human skills. And actually, I think you often forget to invest time in those things.
Well, absolutely. I think especially as a independent restaurant owner, where you are wearing so many hats and spinning so many plates, it's hard to slow down and be like, hang on a second, I need to take a moment for me.
Definitely.
And also living in this, like capitalistic culture that we live in, like if you're not being productive, it's definitely something I talk about a lot. If you're not being productive, then what are you achieving?
Yeah.
And being your own boss, no one's there to come down on you if you're not doing the job. So it's like you just
Or to show you how to do it better. You've got to work out how to do things better, which is why peer-to-peer stuff is really helpful.
It is.
So thank you.
I appreciate you. Do you feel like when you closed Rita'S, like, I obviously I don't think you're glad that happened, but do you feel like that experience of losing that first sight has made you what you are today?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was like, I could not walk on that street for about 5 years. Like, I could not walk past that place because it was so formative to me. And I was, and also just very happy. Like, I had a lot of very happy memories. I had a lot of really hard memories from that restaurant too. But also the financial loss was pretty significant. That's nothing. You can't sweep that under the rug and then move on. It's something very hard to learn at the age of 26 or 27, 28 or whatever I was. And it spun me out a bit. I wasn't fine about it.
Do you mind if I ask about that, like, financial loss? That was that.
I haven't put a number on it, but it was just, we took a loan out to finance the restaurant, and that loan didn't get paid back. Which is not a great feeling.
No.
But which is why now, that said, now we're still here, we're doing it. And like you say, it is successful. It's a restaurant that opens every day. People like it. We get well reviewed. Our team are happy. I'm happy. I enjoy doing it. Like, there's success in every corner, just not vast amounts of cash. But, irrespective of that, everything else feels good. So I think that makes it worth it, like going through that experience. But I think, closing, I don't feel that ashamed of it, really, anymore. I think I was very ashamed at the time.
Yeah.
But I think, especially at the rate of closures that we see now and how hard it is now, I mean, to be honest, I think we did 4 years there, just under 4 years there. And like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not bad, is it?
It's not.
Which is a crazy thing to say.
I know.
But you're like, if you see a restaurant that's open after 2 years, you're like, wow, well done.
Yeah, well done.
Which is awful.
Well, I do think, everyone on this first series of Staying Open has been open 3 years or more was my criteria.
Yeah.
Just because I do feel like after the first year of all the hype and then the second year of riding that wave.
I don't think you know anything about the business in the first year. You need like data to look back on. Also, every year is different. People are like, what's summer like here for you? And I just don't answer the question anymore, because I'm like, I'm not going to call it, because every year is different. Think about your own life. Like, the economy is changing so much. The politics, like what's going on in the world is crazy. No year is predictable. So when people say to me, even if they say like, what's your busiest day of the week? I'm like, I can give you a broad answer, but I'm not going to call it, because some weeks it's Thursday and some weeks it's Monday, and I have no fucking clue why. But I'm just here for the ride, and I'll work it out. And I think that's the other thing about young restaurants and people early in the first 1 or 2 years trying to compare themselves to other people. I'm always like, your restaurant will tell you. You need to stop focusing on the people and start listening very, very intently and focusing a lot on what's going on in your own restaurant, because you're missing out on lessons, whether they're things like what you should be changing, you should be pivoting some of your menu dishes, or the vibe is not what people want in the area, or the seating's not whatever it is. Like, be introspective. And I think, that's something that I think people forget, is that your first year or two, you just got to be looking at everything constantly and changing it or not, or deciding what matters to you, what your non-negotiables like. But if things are not working and you stick it out, I think it's a bit stupid, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like if something's clearly not working,
I guess it's
there's an ego thing. You're like, no, I really want it to be like this, and you're like, but the signs are telling you that that's not what people want, or it's not compelling, or it's not valuable, or it's not interesting. Are you going to really stick at it and, cut off your own, what's this expression?
Cut off your
nose to spite your face,
yeah.
or with a couple of tweaks, could you make a really positive change?
Yeah.
So I think that's really.
And I guess
interesting.
that's like the problem with restaurant owners, restaurateurs, is we are so romantic and we're so obsessed with the romantic idea of a restaurant.
Yeah.
We're not thinking about the business side of it. And
the romance is so alluring. I think don't get me wrong, I love that. I love the romance of a chaotic kitchen, and I love that. But it doesn't. It's not the world that we live in. It's not the time that we're in. And I think that's the sad thing. Like we're maybe outside of big cities, but I would say certainly in London, we're not in a romantic restaurant place.
At the end of every podcast, we like to ask the same two questions. So, and I think we have covered this a bit, but I guess is there one piece of advice that you wish you knew then that you know now?
One thing I wish I knew.
One thing
then
that you know
I know
now that you wish you knew then.
Well, number one thing is going to be the finances. I mean, I kind of knew it then. I knew we needed to be on top of the finances, but I think like we used to give away so much.
Yeah.
Like free shots here, free drink, and because you're like kind of young and you're like playing restaurants and playing host. And so I think what I understand now is that hosting people when you're an independent business, it can be more than just giving stuff away for free, which I think is a trap that some people fall into, and that I've definitely fallen into. And I'm trying really hard to not see that as my only way of being generous. I think there's generosity in so much else that you can give people who've come to support your business beyond just giving stuff away for free.
Yeah.
Because none of us can really afford to do that all the time. So that just kind of feeds into a bigger picture of like being financially savvy. And I guess, well, that's it. That's one. You asked for one.
Yep. And then what's one piece of advice that you would give to someone who wants to open a restaurant?
One piece of advice I would give is don't go with the first. No, one piece of advice is hard.
One-ish.
Have enough money. That's it.
Have enough money.
No, have enough money. Have enough money to do your first year. Not just. Don't do it without a buffer, basically, and expect it to just like reap rewards immediately.
Don't do it without a buffer and expect it to be easy breezy. If you do decide to do it without a buffer, just know you're setting yourself up for a challenge.
I think don't expect it to be easy is the main thing. I do feel like that I've seen people who think it's going to be a walk in the park, and I'm like, you're a bit delulu. Like you need to really. So don't be delulu.
Don't be delulu.
Have money.
Don't be delulu. Have money.
Test the concept. That's it. And don't go with the first site that you see.
No.
Shop around. So that's 4 for free.
That was for free.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat this food.
Yeah. Let's eat the cake.
Thank you so much, Missy, for taking time out of your
Absolute
schedule, busy schedule,
There's
and
no
also
one I would rather do it for.
Yeah. That really means a lot.
Don't cry.
I might. I'm an independent restaurant
know you're
owner.
a crier.
I'm on the verge of tears at all times.
I know you're a crier
and
as
I
well.
am a big crier.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate it, and I think you both said some really insightful things that hopefully people will listen to and can help keep our industry going and alive. Because we need more people like you guys.
We need more people across the board.
We do. Thank you so much for listening. This podcast exists to share the stories behind restaurants, the reality of building them, running them, and the passion to keep them alive. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can follow us at stayingopen.podcast for more conversations, behind-the-scene moments, and upcoming guests. I'm Natalia Ribbe, and this has been Staying Open. One thing I've learned from running a restaurant is that it's very easy to spend all your time working in the business and never quite getting around to working on it. That's why I love what Square are doing. Square brings everything together in one place with one straightforward system of payments, point of sale, and funding. And with Square AI, Instead of digging through reports, you can simply ask questions like, what sold best this week? Or help optimize margins by asking, which are my top 10 most profitable items? Or even compare profit margin versus sales volumes for each item and get answers instantly. It's all part of what they call the Square stuff. And that helps keep your business running. The admin, payments, and point of sale tools. Square does the Square stuff, so you don't have to. And right now, they're offering up to £4,000 in free hardware to eligible businesses to get you started. Head to square.com to learn more.